Hello, I'm Len Baker, President and CEO of March of Dimes Canada. Welcome to our first Step Up for Stroke celebration, and thanks to everyone for joining us today across Canada. We're here to celebrate you, your achievements, and your accomplishments in support of After Stroke and the thousands of Canadians who are affected by stroke every year. We challenged you to step up, and we were not disappointed. Before we share our exciting program with you, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that as we gather today from the traditional territories of many nations, I'm speaking to you from Toronto, Ontario, the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. This area is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and we recognize and deeply appreciate Indigenous peoples' historic connection to this place and their continuing contributions to our communities and our country. I encourage you to learn about the history of the land you are on and the Indigenous peoples who inhabit and steward that land. Now, this has been a special year. Over a year ago, we launched our enhanced After Stroke program at March of Dimes Canada, and we recognize that every stroke is different, and so is every recovery. After Stroke is a program that provides personalized support at every phase of recovery, from the hospital as families transition back home, and through all the changes and successes that follow. Honoring this legacy, we embarked on a new journey. For more than a decade, our Walk and Roll fundraiser has been a beloved event championed by our clients and local chapters in support of our programs and services. In April, we relaunched Walk and Roll as Step Up for Stroke, challenging all Canadians across the country to step up and support 62,000 Canadians affected by stroke every year. Let me tell you, the responses have been incredible, and you'll see this for yourself throughout the program. On behalf of the team at March of Dimes Canada, let me extend a heartfelt thank you to you for all of our veteran supporters, our newcomers to our event, our clients, our staff, all of you who have stepped up this year. We appreciate your enthusiasm and thank you for making this first Step Up for Stroke a huge success. If you haven't signed up yet, it's not too late. You can complete your challenge now, or we will be keeping stepupforstroke.ca open for a few more weeks. Now, I'd like to introduce celebrated broadcaster Kevin Frankish, who is joining us today as our host for Step Up for Stroke. Welcome, Kevin.
Well, thank you so much, Len. Hello, I'm Kevin Frankish. Welcome to the closing celebrations of Step Up for Stroke. Over the next half hour, we are going to meet stroke survivors, March of Dimes Canada staff, and Step Up for Stroke supporters. They're going to tell us the fun they had in doing this event. We're very glad that you chose to join us for these closing celebrations.
As part of Step Up for Stroke, throughout the month of June, you were asked to choose your 62, representing the 62,000 Canadians that experience stroke each year. And boy, did you respond. Some of you sang 62 songs, ran 62 kilometers, read 62 chapters, or did something for 62,000 seconds. Stroke survivors acted as ambassadors, and we're going to meet them. And they're going to tell their stories. They're here to help others in their journey the way they were helped. Now, before we meet our first ambassador, I want to tell you why I got involved with March of Dimes Canada. I've never experienced a stroke, but that doesn't mean I won't. And it's good to know that March of Dimes Canada is there. So that's why we all need to step up no matter what. Well, let's make our first stop now. A group of civic-minded March of Dimes Canada staff. Not only is it Stroke Awareness Month, it's also Spring Up to Clean Up Month in Thunder Bay. And this team combined both causes. Meet Leanne Johnson from Team 62 Pickup.
So our team was Team 62 Pickup, and our goal was to pick up 62 bags of waste in the community with a goal of fundraising $2,000. After stroke is really important to myself, my team members, and those in the community that we serve, as we also know people that have been impacted by stroke and cardiac events as well. And we really want to be able to give back to that, which means having that funding available for local programming and be able to support our local stroke recovery group. We want to have the ability to give people what they want when they're asking for services, so that we kind of get rid of those gaps that are currently existing in the region. Some things that have happened when we're going out on our community cleanup with Team 62 Pickup, of note that we've really appreciated is the community feedback that we've been getting when we're walking the streets. So a lot of the times we have community members walking by and letting us know that they really appreciate that we're out there in the community. And as a result, they're asking why we're doing it. So we're able to give them more information about the Step Up for Stroke fundraiser, as well as the After Stroke program. So it's really nice to see it taking a little bit of the impact that it's having on community members. So they're starting to remember us, and it's something that they're able to tell other people.
Thanks, Leanne, and congratulations on finding a unique and fun 62. Did you know all the money raised from Step Up for Stroke goes directly to after stroke services across the country? As you heard Len mention earlier, After Stroke is a personalized recovery program. Each stroke is different. Each recovery journey is different as well. Every dollar counts. Please visit stepupforstroke.ca. Next, we're off to Newfoundland, where we are going to meet Dan Ennis and Megan Ennis. Dan is a stroke survivor and has a message for everyone else on the same journey.
I guess the main thing we wanted to, the main story we wanted to get across in talking about March of Dimes and Dan's journey with them in the last few months is the connection that it's provided for him with other stroke survivors across Canada. That's been the biggest part of the benefit, I guess, for him and me, as we got to know the facilitators and a lot of the stroke survivors that have been participating in a lot of the groups. And March of Dimes really allowed him to have that connection with other people, and also young people, most importantly, who were experiencing stroke, because that was a really unique situation for us to be in. He was only 48 at the time, and it is a different kind of experience when you're navigating this as a younger person. So he was able to connect with support groups and other people who have aphasia and are working on their communication skills and things like that. And it just allows for a level of motivation that is harder to get when you're working through this by yourself. What would you tell somebody who's just experienced a stroke?
Game on.
That's been his motto for a long time. It's been full force ahead. Dan has never said no to any requests from a therapist, from a physiotherapist, from his occupational therapist, from everybody that he's worked with. It's like the word no hasn't occurred to him. It just hasn't. The option to try was always the only option, and that was it. Whether it was successful or not at the time, he always made the attempt, and I think that was his biggest factor in how far he came. He's just so determined from day one. I think the biggest surprise for us is the long-term process, and how it's not a recovery that happens within, you get thrown around the period of 6 months and people talk to you about that. But that it's really is a lifelong full-time job for Dan, especially. We kind of thought it was like any other medical thing. You experience it, you heal from it, you move on, and that sort of thing.
Music is beautiful, and
It has been a big part of your recovery, hasn't
Yes,
it? Yeah,
yeah.
He's always been a huge lover of music and was a musician prior to his stroke, played guitar and sang. And so he, right from day one in the ICU when he was still sedated and on a ventilator, we played music for him, and that was some of the first responses I got from him in those early days, was from playing some of his favorite music. So
Bruce Springsteen.
Well, thank you, Megan and Dan, for that incredible story. And Dan, you are right, game on. Next, we're off to meet Dave and Brenda Gainford in Ontario. And they have a pretty creative 62 that is going to keep someone warm at night.
I think for us, the aphasia was probably the biggest surprise. You hear about strokes, but aphasia, maybe not so much. So the fact that Dave couldn't speak, and that was a journey.
And then now I'm fine. Sometimes and sometimes.
Yeah, and so the fact that sometimes he can say my name and other times he can't, those are the challenges that come with it, I think. What we found with Dave was speaking, and it was because speaking to the kids on the phone when we were out west and they were here in Ontario, when we put a phone to Dave's ear, he is much more expressive with words, even because of his work. We found that he talks much better, often with a phone to his ear.
Yeah. I talk too much. Are very happy to say that we're happy, but we're not happy, if you know what I mean. Like I said we'd get something done, and we get it done.
Yeah, so I think what Dave's trying to say is that from the very beginning, I said, as long as he tried, I would try. And that's kind of our mantra every day, is that he tries and I try, because as a caregiver, it's a learning process as well. We try to live a grateful life. We try to find two things that we're grateful for. It might be that we have running water, and it might be that we have clean clothes. We might be that trying to find it. But we do try to find a couple things every day and write them down. And in the early days, that was all done by me on Facebook. And now they keep popping up. So this is the quilt that I've made for this year. It has a Christmas theme with my Jewish husband. So this is it here. What we're doing is that we are, for every $5 donated, we're offering a raffle ticket, and somebody will win it at the end. We're going to raffle it off on June 25th.
Well, Dave and Brenda, thank you so much for sharing that story. Is it too late to get a ticket for the quilt? Our next stop, British Columbia. Our ambassador, Perry Cook, is there. He is a stroke survivor, and he wants people to know exactly what strokes and stroke recovery are like. So his 62 talked to 62 people about the journey.
Stroke recovery is hard. It is harder than anything I've ever done. And it's beyond a battle of will and determination. It is trying to get the brain to talk to the body, to talk to, what's going on. Trying to juggle a bunch of emotions with it. and trying to focus on where you're trying to recover. I had a lower left fractal ischemic stroke on my left side. And so I was pretty active before. My right side was paralyzed for the first couple of weeks. But I was determined not to fall into the trap. I would want to exercise. I want to do something. I just wanted to go back to normal. But then I realized probably about 2 years into my recovery, my normal from before is not going to be there. This is the new normal. I've been very motivated, determined, and stubborn to get better who I am. For an example, I ran a half marathon in 2019, and my time was 2 hours and 42 minutes. I was quite happy with it. Post-stroke, I did four half marathons, and my last half marathon was about a month and a half ago, and I did it in 2 hours and 15 minutes. So here I am, I'm better post-stroke than I was pre-stroke. My experience, the March of Dimes programs and services. I wasn't aware of them at first when I had a stroke and I was recovering. It was probably a year into my stroke that I was online searching. I found something. March and Dimes has been very helpful for me. I've been able to meet other stroke survivors through the Young Stroke Survivors Program. It's a club that no one really wants to join, but we're there now, so we take part in it. The March of Dimes also helped me find other services that were of interest. And it's bad because my stroke, my recovery happened just before COVID. But March of Dimes stepped up to the plate and had a number of virtual programs that were really good for people who normally they wouldn't be able to meet. And I use an example, the Young Stroke Survivors Program. There's people who live in small towns all across Canada who wouldn't be part of an in-person group. And so it's helped bring them together.
Well, thank you, Perry, for spreading the word. While most steppers are working on their goals in their own homes and neighborhoods, there's actual in-person gatherings today. Let's go to Nova Scotia now and speak with Rebecca Bourbonnais. She is with the Nova Scotia March of Dimes Canada office. Rebecca, what's been happening in Halifax today?
Hi everyone, welcome to Halifax. We're having our inaugural Step Up for Stroke today. We're so excited for you to join us. We've got a great crowd, small but enthusiastic. This is Richard from Lawtons. Lawtons is one of our sponsors this year. So just want to thank them for all their support. You want to say hi to the crowd?
Hi, everybody. Come out, support us.
Thank you, Richard. And I'm here with Barbara Adams. Barbara is the Minister of Seniors and Long-Term Care in Nova Scotia, and we're so glad to have her here with us today.
Hi, everybody.
We also have support today from Colburn Auto Group, from Midland, and from Seaside FM. Really happy to be here today. Back to you, Kevin.
Well, thanks so much, Rebecca. It looks like you're having a good time. Wish we could join you. You know, it's not too late to step up for stroke. The website is going to stay open for a few weeks. So go to stepupforstroke.ca, choose your 62 and start fundraising today, or simply make a donation. Once again, stepupforstroke.ca. Our next guest is a celebrity ambassador, and you know him, Brett the Hitman Hart. Brett is a longtime ambassador for March of Dimes Canada After Stroke and a stroke survivor himself.
I like to think I knew what a stroke was. I understood what a stroke was. But until I had a stroke, as soon as I had the stroke, I was like, what's a stroke? Like, when do I get better? When am I walking out of here? And I can remember my doctor telling me, he goes, nobody knows. I remember my doctor telling me, when you suffer a stroke, you're on the dividing line of like a hair of living or dying. It was really tough. I mean, when I think back to those days, I think those were my hardest challenges. About 3 to 4 months later, even 6 months later, I'm walking in from my physio now. I was out of the wheelchair. I started getting progress. I started getting my life back. And even today, I still, I have a fairly starting to become more noticeable limp on my left side, that just my leg, like I just have a limp. It's just one of those parts that certain parts didn't come back, certain muscles. Like when I limp up to, for say WWE, for example, when I get inducted to the Hall of Fame, I got to limp out to the ring and I feel kind of embarrassed by it. I have no shame walking with a limp or getting emotional or, all the symptoms that I talked about. And there's lots of them that trigger things. And, like someone throws you a baseball, but you can't get your hand up in time because it's all related to your stroke. And, I'm okay with all that. I'll take everything I got. I'm so grateful for where I got that, I'll never sweat the small stuff. That's one of the things that I got from Walter Gretzky, who was really helpful when I had my stroke, to give me advice. And he said, don't despair, don't feel bad. Don't get down. He goes, that's the worst thing you can do. That'll kill your recovery. And, I try in my own way to be an inspiration to people that have a stroke and go, you know what, maybe I can get a recovery like Bret Hart did. I knew that it was going to be hard, and I got discouraged lots of times, but I made sure that I was ready to go every day. Some days I had a bad day. Sometimes you push yourself too far and you use up too much of your energy or whatever you have that you're recovering. Like I remember I was getting gains, but I'd push myself too hard, and then the next day I couldn't lift my arm. And I know that when somebody suffers a stroke, first thing they're doing is looking to people like March of Dimes to maybe see if there's anything they can do to help make their lives better, and that's what they do. That's what it's all about. I'm just so grateful, and I'm very proud to be part of the Step Up for Stroke. And I just want to reach out to everybody that's involved with it, on all the people that participate in it, and all the people that are all the little cogs to the whole system of March of Dimes that are working with Step Up for Stroke. I just want to thank everybody involved, and just tell everybody what it means to me to be part of such a great thing, and it's been really positive so far. So I just want to thank everybody involved.
Brad, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story and for all the work you do for March of Dimes Canada. Next, a couple of ambassadors now from the creative arts. Strokes can happen to anyone. Our first guest is Gordon Curry, a painter whose stroke changed but did not end his ability to create beautiful art.
My name's Gordon Curry, and I started painting approximately 15 years ago. My painting style or techniques were based on watercolor, acrylics, and when I had my stroke, I started painting digitally on an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil. My stroke recovery was very unique and very different. Like many folks, I joined the March of Dimes stroke recovery group, and I found a lot of people had different effects. I didn't have as much aphasia and some of the other issues that were coming up. I definitely had problems with my memory, my vision, losing my vision totally in the right eye, and then the paralysis down the right side. I've been diagnosed with synesthesia, and that is a little bit of a mix of when I hear sounds and stuff, I hear color, and it's my world is a little bit different. And I also think in color, oddly enough, and in some cases for me, and the doctor explained to me certain parts of my brain that were damaged from the stroke that showed up on the CT and the MRI. They were areas for processed under memory, and they were mathematical things and painting stuff, and my brain is now using other parts of my brain to help me paint. I could pick up a piece of clay on a beach, and I could sit and I could mold clay with my hands. And so one day, if I ever lose, which I may, my vision, I may end up being a sculptor or somebody like that. And a lot of it too is very emotional based. You learn to better understand your emotions, and I still struggle a little bit with that. I did suffer from depression, as a child and later in my teens, but now I actually have learned to deal with it. It hasn't gone away, but if a person did have some mental illness or issues, they could approach them in a totally different manner and live a very happy life.
Thank you so much, Gordon. And any stepper that raises more than $150 will receive a March of Dimes Canada calendar with 12 images that Gordon so generously donated. Now, let's meet Ken McCaw. He was a working musician before a stroke left him unable to use one hand. He's going to tell us how adaptability allowed him to go on making beautiful music.
My name is Ken McCaw. I experienced a stroke about 11 years ago now. One thing I would think that maybe people aren't aware of in stroke recovery is the way there are just incremental, small little improvements that may not be visible to anybody else, but we're aware of them internally. Thinking that there's a defined time frame for recovery and then that's it is a little bit of a false expectation. It just keeps going. It keeps going. And that's a cool kind of surprise. March of Dimes Canada had this program that would partner people like myself up with our hospital to do visitation with people who are currently experiencing the first days of their stroke. And there's something about having been there, done that, that the credibility that comes with that when you're standing in that person's hospital room, that just you have an instant connection. When the result of the stroke was apparent that my right hand, my right arm was not going to return to any kind of full function, playing guitar again became a challenge, became a goal. The goal wasn't to play guitar the way I had before, but to make music with my guitar. The song I'm going to play today is another one of those twists on a familiar phrase, and it's called Best Foot Forward.
Thank you so much, Ken, for your story and your music. Now, one more ambassador to meet, Chris Munn. He's in Ontario. He is personalizing his 62 in interesting ways.
Well, the biggest surprise I had was losing the feeling in my right side and a lack of being able to speak. I couldn't speak at the very start of it, and even now it's been 7 years, and I am now I'm speaking, but I have to speak slowly. So I think I just like everybody that goes through a stroke, that they don't give up and always try to be hopeful and try to do a little bit better every day. And not writing, but I draw pictures and that with my left hand, and I'm pretty good. So yeah.
Well, one time I came home from work and Chris had drawn a picture of me, and with paint. He only had 2 colors of paint, and he only had a very thick brush. And this is what he drew.
My 62, well, it's digging up in the garden 62 leaves or weeds that are growing among the flowers or the plants. And another one, when I go for my walk, I can always count trees. So I can 62 trees. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris, for being with us today and sharing your fun 62s. And so we come to an end of the Step Up for Stroke closing celebrations. It's not the end, though, of your chance to step up. If you need more time to finish your challenge, the website will be up and accepting donations for a few more weeks. Speaking of donations, hundreds of Canadians have been fundraising for weeks and have raised a pretty impressive amount already for March of Dimes Canada's After Stroke program. And we're unveiling the total raised so far in 3, 2, 1. We have quite a few people to thank because without you, this celebration, Step Up for Stroke, would never have happened. First of all, thank you so much to our amazing Step Up ambassadors for sharing your stories of hope and advice for others on the same journey, your inspirations, and we appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Thank you to all the steppers and your supporters for all the amazing work and generosity and fundraising for March of Dimes Canada. That money will indeed go a long way to providing personalized recovery services for some of the thousands of Canadians experiencing strokes each year. And thank you as well to our presenting sponsor, Bios Medical, and the hundreds of staff and volunteers who work tirelessly year-round to provide after-stroke services. And lastly, thank you for tuning in and joining us for this celebration. We couldn't have done it without you. We hope to see you next year.